Hello everybody, today I'm out here shaking things up a little bit, doing this video as I got here and walk. For the Russian viewers out there, I accidentally dropped my hat earlier when I was leaving my apartment, didn't realize until I got out of here, so I do normally actually wear a hat out in the walking in this snowy weather. But got out here and it was too late, so I'm going to go ahead and carry on. Anyway, wanted to address a topic that for our Western viewers, it's a question I get asked all the time, and I have to chuckle a little bit. I don't mean to be mean to anybody. Like, if anyone out there, even like anyone in my personal life, ever sees this video and assumes I'm aiming at them, no worries. I've been asked this question a bunch of times, so this is just kind of just to the collective whole out there. But I'll put this out here as kind of a myth-busting video. I get asked all the time, as an American, how is it, or as a Christian, how do you put up with communism in Russia? And once again, this is no one's real fault in the West, in the sense that individuals, you hear what you heard, but I still have to laugh at it because, the Soviet Union fell in '91. I mean, it's been gone for more than 30 years. And that's kind of the problem is, I think, when it gets down to it, in America, communism's become kind of like, it's become a useless politicized term. It doesn't really have a factual meaning anymore. It's kind of used as this term you sort of just bring out there when you don't like a certain government or something like that and just throw it at it. But when it gets down to it, it has a historic definition, at least in the case of the Soviet Union, China. It's tied to the ideology of Marxism, typically, which is tied to a very specific idea about how you're trying to basically collectivize control of resources. Ultimately, I guess you could say, with the goal of having it sort of collective ownership of the people. Typically, there has to be an intermediate period where the government has to control these things. But when it gets down to it, it's very much tied to a specific economic situation in which it's controlled by the government, people, and the ultimate goal, you're trying to do away with private property and do away with economic inequality. So when it gets down to it, Marxist system, right, is trying to do away with any sort of a capitalist investment system. Ultimate goal in the long run is to do away with, like I said, private property. And so when the Soviet Union fell, this economic system is gone now, right? I'll have people even ask you this, like, well, how does it work doing a job or getting paid in Russia? And I go, you go apply for a job, they offer you a salary, you work, they pay the salary, you open a bank account, the money gets put in your bank account, you then go to the store and use the money you made. It's the same thing, right? So, economically, there is a definition for, a communist state, and that's long gone here. Don't get me wrong, there was some growing pains and all the other stuff, but that is objectively gone. So it's objectively false to reference it as a communist system now. And it's just a fact. There's people out there that have all sorts of governments they like and don't like. And I will just point out how it's kind of like communism once again. It's become, in the West, to be sort of just a synonym for government I don't like. But when it gets down to it, it has an actual meaning. And so when people kind of throw out the communist side, I'm sitting here kind of to go, if you're trying to reference like any sort of like social platforms, anything like that, well, Russia's really not that much more socialist than most of the countries in the EU, and we don't call them communist. Primarily because the we being the Americans, generally as a collective whole, America likes those countries because they're America's allies, and they don't like Russia, so the one gets called communist, the other one doesn't. But it's an emotionally charged term that's kind of just used to throw out a country we don't like, even though objectively that part's gone. Now, I have also seen stuff like, for example, I saw this idiotic video one time of someone visiting Russia and taking videos of, like, in the metro, these pictures of old Soviet art and buildings and all. And I was trying to say, hey, the Soviet Union's still here. And I'm sorry, but that's utterly ridiculous. It's the equivalent of going to England, visiting Dover Castle and saying, wow, there's a castle here? Look, that was built during feudalism. Feudalism is still alive and well in England, and the peasants are being oppressed by their feudal lords, right? Just because the art, architecture, and things built during a time period are there does not in any way, shape, or form mean the system is there. That economic system is gone, and Marxism is a certain kind of political economic system. That system is gone. Now, I'm not telling, anyone out there they have to like Russia or hate Russia or anything. I moved here. I obviously like it. But when it gets down to it, it's still just factually wrong to try and call it communism. That's long gone. So anyway, I'm not meaning this against anyone. Once again, I would honestly say this is kind of more a factor of sort of the propaganda element of what's going on, is that everyone still hears it called communist, hears it talked about like it's the Soviet Union. And most people I see who have this sort of extreme, let's just be honest, hatred for the country are going under the assumption that it's the same country and it's not literally a different nation, as in the Soviet Union fell and a new country is now, a new government's here now. Now, admittedly, yes, Russia's the successor state, which is, got most of the military arms and inherited the debt from the Soviet Union. But when it gets down to it, the country's gone. That economic system is gone. So as in the Soviet Union as an entity is gone, and that economic system is gone. Now, I've met people who legitimately do know about Russia, and I don't agree with them, but I have met with people who, known people who do know what they're talking about and don't like it, and that's a difference of opinion and all that. But my issue that I'm trying to address here is all the people who, dislike it or hate it or have these preconceived notions about it. They're based on something that has been gone for more than 30 years. So anyway, once again, not meaning this against anyone. I'm just trying to clear that out, kind of do a little bit of myth busting on this one. These kind of things I always have to sort of facepalm, not at the people asking them. No, great question, really. It's a legitimate question. It's more I'm facepalming at the fact of how the media and everything portrays something that's just factually wrong, and people should know better before they're trotting these out. These YouTube videos and all talking about, taking upon themselves to talk about a topic like Russia, and then they mention these kinds of things. It's like, no, you get it right, And so anyway, just trying to clear that out for people. Anyway, so y'all have a good one. I want to carry on enjoying this beautiful park out here. It's enormous. All right, y'all have a good one.